You're listening to the Literary Lounge with Dawn Bates on Radio Cardiff 98.7 FM.
Hello there, my lovelies. How are you today? Woo, I'm feeling a bit naughty today. And I'm always feeling naughty, but in the best possible way. You know, like there's a reason why they call me an author activist. It's not that I like causing trouble. I just don't like the cognitive dissonance of some people. It's like, don't you just feel like sometimes you just want to walk up to someone and shake them and, you know, maybe slap them about a bit out of their coma, and then you go, actually, I don't know what they're dealing with, so, you know, I can't do that. But, would I love to. And also, there is something, I don't know if I've already mentioned this, being on a train the other day, sitting next to someone or near to someone. I mean, honestly, they could have been inside my eardrum, but the way that they were chewing, I had to say to them, excuse me, could you close your mouth? Yeah, I am that person. And the guy who was sat next to us on the other table, he quickly closed his mouth. Just close your mouth, people. You know, really, if you're going to eat, close your mouth, please. So, little rant over from me today. It's not that I like causing trouble. There are just certain ways to behave, isn't there? I mean, if you go to Italy and people are talking and they've got their mouth open, the food is in the side of the mouth. The same in the Arab world and Latin America, where you've got these passionate cultures and everyone's talking at once and they're all listening to each other. And like I said, sometimes you think they're arguing, but they're not, and it's that passion, and that's probably going to be that is the theme of today, because we are looking at there's a lot of different ways that the word passion could be interpreted, and I only really like to work with people who are passionate people, like people that really want to make a difference, whether it's the rest of the guys here at Radio Cardiff, you know, that are showing up to do their thing, and, you know, to bring their love and their passion and give their time to bring you this radio station. And, you know, I do keep giving him a bit of a shout out, but, you know, going out to Dave again, you know, he's a bit of a badass, and, you know, the more I learn about this guy, yes, I am stalking you, Dave. He's such a nice guy. He's been so helpful for me on this journey. And this is one of the reasons why I became an author coach, because I was writing these books that seemed to be really ahead of their time. People just were not ready for it. So why are you not ready for it? Why aren't you ready to read a book that actually helps you learn about the world, learn about yourself, learn about other people, and have compassion? And then, you know, sometimes people are just not ready for you. And you just think, why? You know, I'm a pussycat, really. I am. I'm really, really gentle. I might be a bit candid. You know, I do like to be honest. Some people, you know, I've been called a bull in a china shop many times, and I know that some people are not ready for my questions, but they're my questions and they're valid, or my ideas that I write or I encourage other people to develop and write about. They're valid. You know, if we see people in the media and, you know, they're out there, they're sharing all their ideas, but goodness gracious, you would disagree with their ideas, you're in for it. Yes, I'm at the, and this week we've, I say we, me and my alter ego, obviously. There are multiple personalities, apparently, in my body. There's the ditzy kind. There's the cheeky kind. There's a very serious thinker. There is the mama, the dog mama. Very different. I let my dogs get away with a bit more than I probably should. Just they're my babies, and I'm empty nesting, guys. I'm empty nesting. Well, I have empty nested. I don't know why I say I'm empty nesting. You know, it feels like it. But anyway, where was I going with that? Menopause has bit me this week, ladies and gentlemen. I don't know about some of you, and this is not a shameless plug, but those Anquay gummies that we're seeing advertised everywhere on social media. Oh my God, ladies, get them. If you're in the menopause, if you get brain fog, like you've got loads of sodden towels in your brain, or you're just feeling like you just can't be bothered to get out of bed, get yourself some gummies. Whichever gummies you like. I mean, I'm not judging here. The ones in Poland are not so great. The ones in Canada, much better. But the mushroom gummies that Anquay do, they're completely legal. They're completely natural. There's no joyous surprises with those, other than the fact that you have mental clarity, lots of energy. If you'd have been in my team meeting on Monday, oh my goodness, I couldn't even remember what. I honestly, you think that I'm a bit of a scatterbrain on this radio show? You should have seen me on Monday. I mean, my team were just like, should we just leave the meeting for another day? I was like, yeah, probably a good idea. I had no idea. I had absolutely no idea what was going on. I keep forgetting what I'm talking about, like what I'm doing. And I didn't I mean, I knew the gummies had given me a lot more focus and clarity, a lot more energy, reduced the bloating. And but this morning when I was in the shower, I also realized that since I've been taking them, not only has all of my mental faculties returned, well, some might argue, but also the amount of hair that I've been losing in the shower up until I started taking these gummies. I haven't had these gummies for a week because of Royal Mail not delivering them when they should do. I mean, we book a guaranteed by 1 p.m. special delivery. And, that means they're supposed to arrive by 1 p.m. the next day. It's guaranteed. The clue is in the name, Royal Mail. And yet I'm here. I am still waiting. But it's a blessing in disguise because I've realised, just how valuable these mushroom gummies are. Like I said, they're not magic ones. I'm sure you can get those. But these are the Anquay gummies. Honestly, they are a game changer for us ladies. Oh, they might also be a game changer for those of you who are a bit neurospicy. I use the word neurospicy because I've got a lot of friends who we get on really well. My butterfly brain, it works with them. And some people go, Dawn, did you know you're also neurospicy? I'm like, I'm spicy and I love the neural pathways in the brain, but I don't think I'm neurospicy. And even if I am, I don't want that label. I don't want a label. I'm Dawn. I'm just me. That's just how it is, really. But it's been a very interesting week because I have been attending quite a few of these conferences and talks at the UN Women Committee on the State of Women. I mean, the name of it, Committee on the State of Women. I mean, what kind of state are we in that we need to be reminded that it's a state of women? Now, again, this word is a homophone, homonym, homograph, whichever one you want to call it. It is. I mean, we know it's a homophone. State is a homophone. It can be the state, as in the United States, the different states in America or Brazil or what have you. But it can also be the state of something. But what an unpleasant word. The state of women. Look at the state of her. Doesn't she look rubbish? Or look at the state of her. Isn't she mutton dressed as lamb? Look at the state of her. Don't you think that she's a bit too drunk? It's just one of those words, and I just don't think that these people have thought about it very well. I mean, that just might be me, but the state. I'm a bit of a word nerd. I even have a mug with my DBI branding on it with word nerd. But yeah, the state of women. But it's been interesting looking at or listening in. I mean, a lot of it is to do with the States. I was on one yesterday that brought in, what was going on in Asia, and I did have to disagree with some of the facts that they've got there because they were just they're a bit low. I think they don't want to shock us too much. And I did ask for clarification, and they were a bit stumped. I mean, even my research as an individual, when I was traveling around the world, researching human trafficking and the different cultures of women, yeah, that was very interesting. And I know for a fact that the figures that I learned were a lot higher. And I'm quite conservative with my figures when I write about them. And again, comes down to the subject last week of journalism. And the things that we write about and making sure that we do our fact checking. And this was a big international organization where these people have a lot of resources, a lot of money thrown at them. But a lot of the people in these organisations, they don't go to the places, they don't get on a boat or on a chicken bus or in the car and go to the places that are needed to be gone so they can get a real idea of what's happening on the ground. And this is why it really frustrates me when I read a book and I'm like, really? I can tell you've got this from another book because I know which book you've got it from. Stop researching books that have been written. Go to the places. And you might get into trouble. I mean, you know, I'm known for my adventures and possibly some misadventures. But it's been an interesting week over at the United Nations. You know, lots of performative talks. You can tell those a mile off. But before I get into that, I'm going to play you a song. It's called I'm Trouble, and it's by Andy Powell, and I really hope you love it because I do, and it'll really show you who I am, I think. Enjoy, my lovelies. So now you know why I love that song, and I have been singing it quite a bit. And those of you who see me dog walking around the bay, if you're in Cardiff, I know that I've got. Thank you to all my listeners around the world. I really am very, very grateful for you to be joining me and sending me your messages on LinkedIn and the other socials. It's very lovely of you. Thank you. But anyway, those of you who see me walking Chewy around the bay, singing away to myself, dancing along in my own little world. Yes, I love it. This is probably what you'll hear me well, you'll see me dancing to. Some of it will be jungle and drum and bass like Hybrid Minds. Oh my God, how good are they? Some, you know, there's a lot of music on my Spotify playlists. You know, I've got everything from Linkin Park. Oh God, they're so good. How good are they? You know, I've got, well, you know, Welshly Arms and Teddy Swims, and I've got some Becky Hill. You know, you've heard the Seven Layers and the Olivia Dean. I've got a lot. And in fact, actually, one of the songs that Olivia Dean sings is about, and Cara Emerald is another one of my favourites. You'll hear her later on today. They talk about coming back as a man, or isn't she the man? Ladies, what are we doing? I mean, I know that, you know, I'm coming back as a man is, you know, like, because we get more opportunities if we're men. Well, men get more opportunities. This is a known fact. But one of my articles this week over on the Dose of Dawn on my website, dawnbates.com, I actually talk about a really hard-hitting subject that really has come out. And I started to see people memeing about it, you know, why is it that every woman, and there's a bit of a trigger warning coming here now, guys, ladies and gentlemen, there are no boys and girls, hopefully, because this is, you know, you should be in school. Should you, or are you homeschooled? But that's a whole other debate. We'll probably get into that in another show. But the thing about that I'm learning this week at the UN CSW 70, and that's been coming out in the news, we just saw Charlotte Nichols MP admit the situation with her rape, and like the fact that the law took over 1,088 days to actually get anywhere. And no, I can relate. And if you go and read the article, I actually talk about how is it every woman can name a rapist, can know someone who's been raped, but no man knows a rapist. And I was speaking to some of my male friends about this, and they were like, yeah, because men don't admit that they've done it. A lot of men are so unaware of what they're doing. And those of you who follow, I don't know if you've seen the Italian guy Fabio on Instagram. I think he's also on TikTok or something. But his friend sent him to a massage place this week, and it is all connected. And at the end of this massage, it was one of those massage parlors. The masseuse touched him. Now, his friend thought this was hilarious because he was taking advantage. Now, whether this was a sketch or whether this was a parody or whatever it was, his friend stitched him up. Didn't tell him it was that kind of masseuse. And his friend was like, Fabio was like, come on, she touched me and blah, 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 blah. And, you know, I didn't like it. This is assault. But this friend that did it set him up. And how many men do that? How many men, like they think it's a bit of a joke when they see their male friends going out, and hitting on the woman. Oh, she knocked you back, but you kept going. Oh, good on you for keeping. No, no is a full sentence. It needs no explanation. And there are so many people that don't know what the word no means. And what I'm about to say is probably a bit controversial, hence obviously it's me. But how many parents, especially today, say no to their children and then keep allowing their children to do the thing they told them not to do? We are setting our children up, and we are setting up the future generations to not know the power of no. We bribe our children. Well, I didn't. We see so many parents bribing their children, doing anything to allow their children just to please stop it. No, no means no. If you say no, make sure your children understand it. Because if you don't, it goes on later on in life. They start to ignore the word no. They ignore their teachers. They ignore a lot of things. And then we have these situations that we're discussing at the UN State of Women. It really does bug me. Can you tell? And it's like Giselle Pellico, when you learn about her story, and how she had said no to her husband Dominic about swinging clubs. So what did he do? He got his own way anyway and drugged her and did the despicable things he did to her. And you just think, how have we got here? Now, I know this is something that's happened for, it's happened for centuries. Some people go, well, the Vikings have always been at it, raping and pillaging. But really, can we have a bit more intellect here? Again, critical thinking, which comes into the journalism, because I don't know one journalist who picked up on what Charlotte Nichols was saying about the isolation she felt. People saw her spiraling out of control. They saw the impact of the trauma in her actions, and yet no one asked her why. What's going on? How are you feeling? What's going on for you? Now, when it happened to me, I remember just feeling so lonely and isolated because people in business didn't want to know about it. They didn't. And I remember I hadn't drank for many, many years. I could tell you, how many drinks I've had in my lifetime up until recently. And yet here I was, a woman that had never drunk alcohol in 20 years. All of a sudden I started drinking and I was off my game and I was, behaving quite erratic. But no one in my business community and people that I thought were my friends, not one of them asked why. They thought it was great that Dawn's finally drinking. No, ask the question why. Why, after all this time, have you started drinking? Why are you behaving like this? Normally you're so in control, so focused, so well put together. And here you are, you're kind of going off the rails, but they didn't notice it because it was no different to the majority of people. It was so vastly different from me, but they never asked why. And then when they found out why, oh, I can't handle that. Okay, you've got to deal with that by yourself. And that just compounds the trauma. And that is what Charlotte Nichols was talking about when she spoke in the House. I think it was like House of Commons. I don't think it was the House of Lords. Again, I need to do my research, but pretty sure it was the House of Commons because she's got the green seats, and I think in the House of Lords they're red. But the thing is that when we don't think critically about a situation, we're all very good at overthinking, but critically thinking, critically analysing a situation, that takes a whole other level of awareness, not just self-awareness. And there's a lot of people we know that are not self-aware. I mean, gosh, like I said, chewing with your mouth open, you're a grown-ass man, have some pride in your self-love. But if we're not thinking critically about the things we're hearing and the things we're reading or the things that we're watching, then really what is going on for us it's time for us to take a bit of a deep dive into why we're not thinking about these things. Now, I did mention her. It is Cara Emerald. She is one of my favourites. I mean, the guy who introduced me to him, he can go take a long walk off a short cliff, as far as I'm concerned. But he did introduce me to Cara Emerald, and this is her song, Back to the Beginning.
You're listening to the Literary Lounge with Dawn Bates on Radio Cardiff 98.7 FM.
Okay, so that was the news, and a quick correction. I did say the name of the song wrong just previously. Just going to correct myself. It was Cara Emerald, Back It Up, not Back to the Beginning. I was thinking about a different song, different genre, very different vibe. House of Pain, or I think it was my Cypress Hill. Do you see what I'm doing this week, guy? I'm getting so confused. Bring on the mushroom gummies. Where are they, Mr. Postman? Goodness me. So yes, this week, the UN week, the Revelation by Charlotte Nichols. And, come on, let's give the woman some kudos. How many women have been through what her and I and Giselle have been through? 1 in 3. 1 in 3 women. Now, I want you to just take a moment to think about that. If you're in an office of 30 people, you're in a supermarket. I mean, I try and avoid those like the plague. There's just too many people. I mean, I could be at the London Book Fair. No thanks. Too many people. Too many people bumping into you. Like, yeah, it's just got a bit too big for me, to be honest. I was there with my first book because that was on, that was being promoted at that was years ago. Interesting times. Gosh, yeah. The reason why I'm doing that is because I left the London Book Fair on the Friday and got told by my ex-husband he wanted a divorce. So yeah, that was a very interesting week. Maybe I'm avoiding London Book Fair for that reason. Who knows? But anyway, when we look at the number of women that have been through the things that many of us have, and then we also know that the men that do it are mostly known to the women. That makes it an absolute paradox that men don't know men who do it. Now, I know you're not going to sit down the pub or you're going to have a game of squash. And, oh, by the way, guess what I did to a woman this weekend? I know you're not going to do that. But you have to be able to notice the signs. The way in which men leer and joke about women as they walk past. No, I'm not, I've had some times when I've been wolf whistled and it's given me I'm like, oh, thank God I've still got it. There is that. And I'm not, I know that's going to really annoy the feminists. And yes, as a conversation that I had at the beginning of this week, mentioning angry feminists, that does trigger a few people. Was not expecting the way that spiraled, because I didn't actually say this person was an angry feminist. I just said that there are different kinds of feminists, and that sadly a lot of the feminists we have today, they're just angry, they're traumatized, they're acting out of pain rather than consideration for what it actually means. These are angry feminists, and they have every right to be angry. But destroying property, emasculating men, and calling for the matriarchy is not the way. Now, this might not be a very popular view. I'm used to giving up unpopular views. It comes from travelling and reading. I mean, what can I say? But if we are so hell-bent on creating the matriarchy, how different is that to what patriarchy is? It's just the other side of the coin. It's about female dominance. We don't want to be dominating each other. Well, I mean, some of you might be, but that's a whole other conversation. But it's about us being allies together. Now, some of my biggest allies in my whole career have been men. They have supported me more than the women. And that speaks volumes. There are women that have gone, oh, we'd love, these are some of the things we're doing. I'm like, oh, cool, great. How can I get involved? I'm like, oh, and I'm like, okay, so what are you doing and how can I help? And then they start backtracking because it's theirs. How dare you even think about joining me? It's mine. I'm doing it. And, you're just, you're too much, or you're, you know, and I remember going back to an Inspiring Women's network that I helped launch many, many years ago. And it became more about the fact that the women, oh, hang on, I think that might be the postman. That was a bit of a short break. The gummies are here, folks. Woohoo! Normal. Normality is going to be. Oh, that's not even a thing, is it really? See, this is a reality of working, from home, or, getting interruptions, and people try and gloss over it. People try and present this super polished version of everything. Do we really need to? Don't we all just want a bit of reality, a little bit of genuine life? Because when we polish everything, those that are really struggling amongst us, we just feel a little bit crap about ourselves. Or like everything is going so well, and it really isn't for a lot of people. But they take their tablets, they put the Photoshop on, or their filters, and and I have to ask a question, right? And I will get back to the main conversation. What is it with all these women saying, "Get ready with me"? I don't want to see you getting dressed, love. I don't want to see you in your undies getting dressed on Instagram. I don't even want to see you putting your makeup on. I mean, I get that if you want to sell makeup or skincare products. I don't need to see that. I really don't. No one needs to see you getting dressed. No one needs to see you putting your makeup on. And it's, I get people like Victoria Beckham, they're doing it to sell their makeup. I get that. And they're showing you how to do it, makeup tutorials. Brilliant. But seriously, do we need to see people getting dressed? Is that the depths that we've fallen to? And it does tie into the main subject, because, if we're trying to help women feel more empowered, I mean, this is just my opinion, everyone's got one. It's a bit like a vase and putting a flower in it. You've all seen that meme and that saying. But if we don't want to be objectified, and we don't want to be reduced to a physical body, that we've got emotions, and that we've got all these, hopes and dreams, and that we are something more than to be looked at, why do so many people focus on just what we look like? Why are we not celebrating the intellect, or the kindness, the generosity, the volunteering? And when someone does do volunteering, why is it seen as something that other people do? Oh, it's all right for you, you've got the time to volunteer. Or it's like, well, actually, some people are actually doing volunteering as a step back into work. They've been out of work for so long, and they've been taking care of elderly parents, or, a sibling or a child that's been really sick. And the volunteering is a way of them just having a bit of time for themselves, to do something for others that nourishes them, rather than feeling that they're obliged to do it, or they're obligated to do it. And sometimes volunteering to help other people deal with the thing that you've been dealing with yourself personally, that can be a completely huge lifeline. Now, I wouldn't be able to speak on these rape crisis helplines. That would just be too triggering for me. And I've actually, with some of the author coaching that I've done and that I've been doing, I've had to step away. I could not go through somebody else's journey at that point, because I was going through it. But now I'm on the other side of it. It's a lot easier for me. Well, I say I'm on the other side of it. Are we ever really on the other side of it? But I've got more coping mechanisms now. I've been able to put a distance between me, and be able to help a lot more people through group coaching sessions that I run in my Author Academy. And this is the thing, when we go through some of these massive things, like one of the women yesterday was talking about, like, the sex trafficking that's been going on in Asia and some of the figures there. and some of the work that they're doing. Incredible work that these ladies are doing. And there are some amazing women that are showing up in um, this UN state of women you can probably tell I really hate saying that. But again, it's about coming back to some of the old-fashioned values where people are going, you know what, this is what I want. I don't want a quick wham bam thank you ma'am relationship. I don't want everything to happen so quickly. I want to be courted. I want to be, dated, wooed. And there's a really great song. I'm going to carry on with the electro swing jazz vibe today. Well, for the next song anyway. Because it is about looking at what you actually truly want and what we enjoyed and where we felt safer. Because we're giving everything away, like getting undressed and dressed on social media. What message are we giving? Who wants a Christmas present that's already unwrapped? I mean, I don't. I'll be like, who's had my Christmas present? Or my birthday present? Who's opened it? No, thanks. Leave it in the wrapping. Here's Little Violet with Silent Movie. Such a great song, and it does tie into what I'm saying. We want to take our time to get to know someone, because the more we get to know them, we know they're not after just one thing. We know that they're, going to be, they're interested in more than just our physical bodies. And that's what this, a lot of the conversations at this UN event, the CSW, is all about. It's about not objectifying women and actually being able to help support women through different things and crisis, and actually being able to identify different signs of things that women are going through. And it's like I go back to the critical thinking and the self-awareness and the analysis. And there's a program on Netflix at the moment called The Victim. I don't know if any of you have seen it, but there is a scene in there. It's the courtroom scene, and I was almost screaming. I mean, obviously I wasn't screaming at the television, but I was like, the writers there missed a trick. Absolutely missed a trick. There was a scene where it says, where the lawyer goes, says to the woman on trial, so you're telling me you don't really know your husband. And the woman that was being the witness, so she wasn't on trial, she was a witness. She said, well, how much do we ever really know anybody? And the lawyer came back and he said, well, so you're telling me you don't know your husband. How many of us have been with someone for years only to find out that they've been cheating? Men and women. I'm not saying it's just men. And you've spent your life with them, you've had kids with them, you've built businesses or you've built careers, you've done so much, you've been through so much together, and then you find out they're cheating. How well do we really know anyone? How well did Giselle Pellico actually know her husband? She obviously didn't, and she'd spent a lifetime with him. Like, they'd got grown-up children who'd got their own children. They were grandparents, and he was doing this vile. I mean, I've got the book next to me, A Hymn to Life. It does. I mean, the subtitle is Shame Has to Change Sides, and it absolutely does, because a lot of us, we're treated like the dirty little secret, the person to avoid, as if it's almost catching. And it's mainly done by women. And we are our own worst enemies. And this is some of the things that's coming up at the UN conference, that, women have to really, we talk about collaborating, we talk about supporting, but a lot of it is just performative, because we either haven't got the courage, or as I say, owning our ovaries, we haven't got the power of our ovaries intact, and when I just did a reading of the Owning Our Ovaries book, it was really powerful to see the reactions of the women who were there and the conversations that were had around the chapters that or the snippets of the chapters I read out in that book, and how when we do step up and we do speak out about certain things that impact us, we are creating change. When we question our friends and go, actually, why weren't you there for me? Why is it you never invite me out anymore? Whether, or why is it you've never invited me on a girly holiday? Or, why there's a woman on Instagram. If those of you who are listening, you want to follow me on Instagram, then you can do. It's Ms. Dawn Bates International, or INTL. There was this woman on Instagram who was saying that she was supposed to be going out with a friend that evening. She called a friend and said, I just can't do it. I just need to have a night in. And a friend didn't answer. And so she was like, okay, she's, got the message or something. And then there's a knock at the door. It was her friend who just came by just to give her a hug. How many of us have that? How many of us have a friend that will just drop everything and drive from over an hour away just to give us a hug to make sure we're okay? There are not that many. I mean, most of my friends would have to get a flight, or they'd be 5 hours. But again, it does make you realise that there are so many of us that have become such lone wolves because we don't want the drama or the pity parties. And this is part of the problem. There are those of us who have been through hell and back, and we've become so strong that we've got so used to having to deal with stuff by ourselves, especially those of us in business, because we cannot let people know that we've got any problems or we can't drop the game face, because then people will think that there's something wrong with the business. We can't just be dealing with, health issues of ourselves or family, or like families in different countries that are going through some really tough ordeals, such as people in the Arab world at the moment, or in certain parts of Latin America where we've still got a lot of riots, or we can't just have a dog that's sick. Whenever, and it is getting better, it is. Over the last 30 years that I've been in business, I have seen that people are opening up a lot more. But I've noticed that, and I have been questioned, my God, you're so brave, talking about the things you do. Why do you do it? And I tell you why I write the books I do and I speak so openly, is because sometimes I get messages from someone, either emails or messages on social media, or via my website, where people say to me, thank you. Hearing that someone like you is going through it as well, or hearing the way you said it made such a difference. Some of my books, I've had people tell me that I've saved marriages. I have helped them bond with their daughter, or I've helped them understand their wife or their mother or their husband or their brother, on a much deeper level. And that's why a lot of us that write books, that's why we do it, because it takes us out of the situation. Now, I write books and I do write them in a memoir base, and a lot of my clients, they do write their memoirs, but they're memoir self-help. So we're using our journey and the things that we've learned to share with other people, not just to say, oh, look at me, aren't I so bloody wonderful, but to say, you know what, I got through this and you will too. I've been through this. This is what I use. This is how I got help. This is how I healed myself. These were the coping mechanisms that I put in place. And it's so much better writing it out, because that's very cathartic. And it's actually helped heal a lot of rifts between families. There's a lady that I coached, for one of the books, Alive to Thrive. Her name is Cheryl. What she wrote in her chapter actually helped heal family bonds, family relationships that had been broken for years. And she got to understand why her parents behaved in the way that they did. And that's powerful. And that's why a lot of us write the books. But it also helps people understand the world a bit better. Because some people, they live a very protective, very privileged life. And they don't always understand or have the capacity. And it is like a revolution. I actually wanted to do a leadership and revolution master's degree, but that didn't happen. didn't have enough spaces. But there is one lady who sang about a revolution, and her name is Tracy Chapman, and she's now coming up. And I do hope you enjoyed this song. It's one of the first ones I heard about revolution. I was like, yeah, I'm up for some of that. Absolutely up for some of that. So enjoy this, and then it's the news and ads.
You're listening to the Literary Lounge with Dawn Bates on Radio Cardiff 98.7 FM.
There we go. That was the news and the ads from our lovely sponsors. Thank you all so very much. We really do appreciate you. Yeah, we really do. And again, if you've got any literary events coming up, or you would like to sponsor my show, then please do get in touch. I mean, you can send me a message through dawnbates.com/contact, or you can contact the radio directly. I think that we've got a Facebook page. Yeah, we've got lots going on. We've got a page on LinkedIn. I think we've got one on the gram. But yeah, send us a message if you'd like to sponsor the show. Or if you've got events coming up, if you're a bookstore hearing, anywhere in Britain, or again, some of my listeners are international. So if you've got a book event coming on that you want to promote, or you've got a book that you are writing, and you'd like me to give it a plug, then do let me know. And again, if you'd like me to come down to your bookstore or speak at your event, I'm more than happy to consider it. I can't be just going here, there and everywhere. There are expenses and things like that I need to cover. So, I need to make sure that it's all good. And I want to deliver the best for you all. And this is the thing that about a lot of people that I've noticed, that they're not used to accepting help, are they? They go, what do you want in exchange? Well, there are certain things that do need covering. Like if you want me to come and speak at an event in the States or internationally, then there are flights and hotels that need to be covered. If you want me to get a train up to the north of England, or across to the east or wherever, then, expenses would be great. But it's, and this is the thing, some people, they because they know I'm an author coach and and that I write books. Oh, I've got a good story. You could write my book. Yeah, I could do. These are my fees. I'm not going to write your book for free. Like, do you walk into Sainsbury's or Aldi or Lidl or Waitrose or whatever, or like your clothing stores, or maybe let's just go to a car showroom and let's just help ourselves? Well, you've got a car. I mean, come on, I need a car. Like, just give me the car. I've got adventures to have. What's the difference? What is the difference? People have got some cheek, haven't they, really? They think I can just pay for bills and, all the dog food that Chewy eats, because it's not cheap dog food, because she's on well, it actually is. It's probably cheaper than that crap that you buy in a lot of places. The stuff that was recommended to me by a vet, and now I know why vet recommended it, so I just kept going back there. Yeah, no, I'm not giving my dog that. She's a sensitive little soul, bless her, is Chewy. But yeah. Anyway, back on track, Dawn. You've gone digressing there. But again, when we go through all the things that, we go through in life, whether we've been through addictions, whether we've been through divorce, ill health, some people have overcome cancer, whether it's been through trauma or trafficking, because trafficking has become, is one of the biggest topics at the UN session this week. I'm actually, I've got a few more sessions to do before the end of the week, but it's been fascinating what's been going on and what's been talked about. Some of them I've really wanted to attend, and I just haven't been able to fit it into my schedule, and I'm really gutted about that. And I've been invited to New York by one lady to go, and which was I was like, yeah, I'll come. Book me a flight. But this is the thing, when we start to own who we are, we start to own our experience, and we start to put standards in place. I mentioned this last time, boundaries or standards. We do have to put boundaries in place so people don't cross them. Because if we don't know how to treat ourselves and we don't know how to respect ourselves, and we're not going to be teaching other people how to respect ourselves. If we're just giving everything away and, bending over backwards for other people, then that's what people are going to expect. Tash and I were talking yesterday about the value that she offers. And that we both offer as women in business, and I was talking to some male counterparts, and they're like, yeah, they don't get it. They do not get people asking them the same questions that women in business get asked. And that I find fascinating. Maybe the men, they own their value a lot more than women. But when a woman asks for the expenses to be paid or for things to happen in a certain time frame, oh, we're being difficult. No, we're not. We're just honouring who we are. We're actually saying, no, this is who I am. I've been through too much in my life. And for those of us in the menopause, ladies, you'll probably relate to this. And those of you who are married to the ladies in the menopause, you'll know that we kind of get to a point in our life where it's like, you know what? I've got no more time for this. There's a phrase that you all probably know is on the tip of my tongue right now. And it's like, no, that's the polite version of it. I remember when I was delivering my lecture at Cardiff Uni last week, and I said a word in Arabic that made everybody laugh, well, all the Arabs in the class laugh. I'd forgotten, because again, it's a very informal word that you use amongst friends and family. But again, it's that same word. But we've all got to, when we've been through something, we're rebuilding ourselves. We're actually putting, creating new standards for ourselves and holding ourselves at a higher level, holding ourselves to account so that people can no longer violate us, that people can no longer take advantage of us. They can no longer get the payoffs from our own lack of self-belief or self-worth. And there are some people that really, really annoys them. And you're like, that's fascinating. So you were happy when I had no value or didn't see my own value because you could take advantage of it. But now I see my own value and I see my worth. You don't like it because you're not getting the payoff. On you go. Off you go. Not interested in having you in my life anymore. There's a boundary. You're no longer allowed. And, we either block you on our phone, block you on social media. But then there are the people that even though you block them on social media, they try and say hello to you in the street. No. Just no. There's a reason why I don't want you in my life on social. I don't want to see you. I don't want to hear from you. I don't want to see you. And that's perfectly okay to do that. But there's also, I spoke to another friend of mine that's in the States. Well, she's not in the States anymore. She's off in Thailand. And finally, we used to talk about it, her going traveling and becoming a nomad when I was sailing around the world and traveling around the world by myself. And I was like, you're just going to love it when you do it. And she's finally done it. She's now in Thailand, her first international country outside of the States, on this nomad journey that she's on. I'm so proud of her. But we were discussing how, you have to evolve. So when you evolve so quickly and you start to learn from the lessons of the past and you start to put these new self-care measures in place, or you go, you know what, this is no longer happening. Or I'm no longer going to accept that. I'm no longer going to eat that. I'm no longer just going to sit and veg in front of Netflix. I'm going to eat healthy. I'm going to work out every day. I'm going to learn something new every day. I'm going to read a new book every week or month. I mean, I won't tell you how many books I've got on the go at the moment that I'm reading. Oh my God, I'm loving it. I've got 5 books that I'm reading at the moment. Also very different, but I'm loving them. But when you read and you're getting into all of these books, and I'm reading a property development one at the moment. I'm reading obviously Giselle's Shame Has to Change Size, a Hymn to Life book. I'm reading a book on like the Daniel Priestley's oversubscribed, so I can help build out my author academy. I'm reading a finance book, and again, you're starting to put this knowledge that you're gaining into practice. The Let Them Theory by Mel Robbins. Still reading it, enjoying it, really am enjoying it. And it's like, yeah, I have held certain things a bit too much, and you start to release it and you go, oh, I can just relax a bit more now, and it doesn't really matter. And it is about creating this brand new version of yourself. And for those of you who were as old as me and maybe a little bit older, you'll remember Alicia Keys. She performed this song, and the beginning of it was really interesting because she was actually having a conversation that actually was the precursor to the song. And I'm going to play it for you in a minute. It's about her creating a brand new version of herself. It's a great song. And I remember when it came out, and there was just like, oh, who does she think she is? Yeah, it might be just song lyrics, but it's not song lyrics, is it really? None of the song lyrics that we hear there. I mean, it's been interesting choosing songs for this week's show. It really has, which I will talk to you about after we've listened to Alicia. But yeah, this is Alicia Keys with Brand New Me. Great song. Yeah, as I was saying, before that song started, how she's talking to the man, saying, you know what, no more. This is a brand new me. I thought you'd appreciate it. You obviously don't, on your way. But choosing some of the songs for this week has been really interesting because, oh my God, you only have to listen to the lyrics to realize just how the songs are supposed to be empowering, but it is all about giving yourself up to somebody else and begging him to come back, or I'll do anything to change. And even some of the people that you think, oh my God, yeah, I'm gonna go listen to an Adele song, I'm sure she'll be powerhouse woman. It's like, oh my God, looking at the lyrics. And this is the thing about understanding literature and being literate. When you actually look at the song, the words that have been chosen, I mean, yes, I had I'm Troubled by Andy Powell. That there are multiple ways you can interpret that song. You can see her being cheeky with a guy, and and being very playful and teasing him. But you can also see it as a very cheeky way, like I was playing it today. And then you've got other songs that, I mean, what else have I played today? We played Back It Up by Cara Emerald. Again, the way in which, if you're singing that to a guy, but what if you're just singing it to society? When we listen to these songs, Little Violet, Silent Movie, yeah, she's saying that this is what she wants from a guy. There are lyrics about the relationship she wants. But what if we were actually saying these to society rather than singing it to an individual? What if you sang a lot of these songs, these love songs that you are listening to, instead of actually singing them to a guy or thinking about a guy loving you and, doing whatever you can for him? Do it for yourself. These songs are, when you dissect a lot of the words and the meanings, it it's baffling that women who come across as really strong and empowered, and they talk about independence and solidarity of women, they then write a song and then it's like, I'm begging you, please come back. Don't beg. Stop begging. If someone wants to be in your life, they will be in your life. If someone wants to support you in business, if somebody wants to support you in your career or in a house project, let's say you're upsizing your property, or you might be downsizing, and you want to redecorate the house and have a decorating party, or you want to celebrate your 50th, and you think about the people you want to invite, and then you just look at the list of people that are in your life, and you're like, you know what, I don't want any of them at my 50th. And then you start going, oh, why don't I want them there? And I call it the party test. I mean, it could be your 40th, your 30th, whatever age you're looking at. But when you throw a party, I invite you to actually look at the people that have been there for you throughout your life and the ones that have encouraged you to become the best version of yourself. How many of those people would you want at your party? If they said yes, would you go, oh, they said yes? Or would you be like, yes, game on? These are some of the things that we need to consider because there's, again, going back to the UN thing that we're looking at today, I've met some incredible women. And one of the reasons why I joined it was for that reason, to meet women who were there, who were getting active, who were dynamic enough to attend, to look at some of these really challenging conversations that are being had, to actually call out the legislators and the politicians on their farmyard manure, we'll call it that, and actually go, you know what? We're done having those shallow conversations. We want to have these really, really meaty conversations. We want to be tackling the issues that are facing us today as women. We're not going to be the women that are just going to sit there at the sidelines. Now, I get it. Like I said last time, you can't, or on a previous show, you cannot teach a hungry child to learn it because they're more concerned about being hungry, or they're more afraid of going home and getting beaten, or if they're at school and they know that they've got to go home, to a parent who's sick and they've got to sort out the meds or the amount of jobs that need to do once they actually get home. When people have got so much going on and there's a lack of support from their friendships or their social groups, it makes you actually question, am I surrounded by the right people? Because if I'm not surrounded by the right people who are encouraging me to be the very best version of self, who are encouraging me to have one more drink or have one more spliff, or I'll just eat the chocolate. It's not chocolate, it's chocolate flavored. Oh my God, have you seen the latest chocolate flavored? Like some of the stuff that read the ingredients. If you're going to read anything, ladies and gentlemen, read the ingredients list of what it is and know what those ingredients are. Goodness gracious, we can't even call a club biscuit. If you like a lot of chocolate on your biscuit, then join our club. Yes, where I am that old, I do remember that advert. That's not a chocolate biscuit anymore, it's chocolate flavoured, because there's not enough chocolate in it to call it a chocolate biscuit. And you know what? It's not even got the right amount of chocolate on it, has it? It used to be really thick that you could see your teeth patterns through it, but now, why is it? It's not a chocolate biscuit, is it? No, it's chocolate flavoured with a little dusting of chocolate. Anyway, this next song, before I get off on my chocolate moan, is Avril Lavigne's We Are Warriors, because I am meeting a lot of warrior women, and today's show is dedicated to all the women who are showing up for themselves regardless of what they're going through.
You're listening to the Literary Lounge with Dawn Bates on Radio Cardiff 98.7 FM.
Such a great selection of songs I've got for you today, all by women, performing them. Most of them have been written by them, and I'm not going like dancey today. I mean, you can dance to all of them, but yeah, I thought, I like getting us ready for the weekend, but I really do want us to be able to sing along, because singing is so good and there's so many great lyrics. I know I like my universal music of what do they call it these days? EDM, electric dance music. I mean, what was wrong with techno and hardcore and garage belongs in the garage, really, not a dance arena. Sorry to all of those who like garage, but not my thing. Some funky hard house, some dirty fat bass lines and all of that jazz. Love them, love them, love them. Like a bit of hip hop. But I don't know, I just felt like we just needed, to honour all the women that are standing up and speaking out and really trying to make a difference in the lives of other women, even though other women don't appreciate it a lot of the time. They say they do, but do they? Do they really? Or are they still caught up in the social condition? And this is part of the conversation that I had with the young lady earlier in the week that spiraled out of control really quite quickly. I mean, that conversation went, wow, that really did. That went, yeah. It's like, huh? Where did that come from? Um, and we do see when you're having these conversations with women, we do see them use bumper car stickers as they were. Is that what the, and phrases that are being put out into the media? And I remember when I was working with one woman from the States on her book, and she said to me that in the States they have the best immigration policy. And yeah, you know the meme where the woman is wearing turquoise and she spits her drink out everywhere? Yeah, I didn't just have it come out of my mouth. It came out. I am that person. If you tell me something funny and I'm having a drink, it comes out of nose and mouth. Um, and I was like, oh my gosh, like seriously, if you are going to write a book of the content that you are writing, and then you are going to come out with these bumper car stickers, these political catchphrases, these sound bites, you are going to discredit your book completely because it shows you're not doing your research. It just shows that you are following a narrative without actually thinking about it. And that, and this is why in the Author Academy, we actually look at the critical thinking and the analysis of what's going on, because, it's not enough just to write a book and put your name to it. You've actually got to stand by this book and you've got to be prepared to be asked questions about it. And the thing was, it was like the thing that she was writing about, it's a global thing. Everybody, well, the majority of people will become a parent. And the book, we published it, it went on sale and everything, but then relationships got too much and we had to go our separate ways. But it was the fact that so many people, when you're having a conversation with them, you can tell they're not well read. You can tell that they've not done their research. I mean, I know that, some of the things I've said today when it comes to song titles, like, I made the mistake of saying, Back to the Beginning with Cara Emerald when it was actually Back It Up. And, these things, but I'm really ready to admit that I made a mistake. And I'll do it here on live on radio, and I'll do it on the summits that I speak at or on the stages that I speak at. And I've been, sat there on stages and people have said to me, well, you wrote this and this is factually incorrect. I'm like, okay, when did I write it? Okay, when did we learn that the information that I had was incorrect? A couple of years later. Now, if I, in my glorious wisdom, are getting things wrong a couple of years before things have been proven to be wrong, I'm going by the research and the data and the information that I have available to me at that time. I will still stand by the thing that I wrote, but I will also make sure that people understand that, we've got to look at the time frames. We've got to look at the times that, books were written. And the thing that this young lady and I were discussing the other week, at the beginning of the week, were certain books where they're quite misogynistic. They are, they're not really talking about the issues of women, and they're really quite, what's the word should we use? Derogatory, I think, would be a very good phrase to use. And I'm like, yeah, but you've got to imagine that this man who wrote the book, he's old enough to be your grandfather at this point. And the book and the man who wrote it is a product of the time, just like we are a product of our time. The things that are acceptable to us today would be, abhorrent to people 100 years ago. There are certain things, that are going full cycle. But are we really going to blame men, all men, today for things that happened 50, 60, 100 years ago, 500 years ago? No, if we do, then are we as women to blame for all the problems that women did and caused, and what women went to and didn't stand up for their rights, or gave away their voice, or did this, that, and the other? Am I to blame for the mistakes of my parents? No. I mean, I might be responsible for a few more of their grey hairs. But this is the thing that when we're trying to, people talk about banning books and, the cancel culture. Are we really banning books, or are the publishers just talking about books but being banned just so that they can sell more of that book again? Again, you've got to look at the reasons why things are coming out and why people are writing the books or the articles that they're writing, or writing the songs that they're writing. I mean, when we look at some of the songs, like I said, it's been interesting looking at the lyrics of some of the songs. I'm like, oh yeah, that's a really good song, I'll play that. Then I look at the lyrics, I'm like, I'm not playing that. Not this week. I might play it because it's a good song and a little bit down the line, but not today. Today was, about women rising in their power and, creating a new version of themselves, and really honouring all of the women at the UN CSW. Because honestly, I know I've said it a few times during today's show, but these women, some of the things that they open themselves up to, and I know that people say this about me when they read some of my books or articles, they're like, I can't believe you read about that to then write about it, given everything you've been through. But even without everything you've been through, the fact that you are prepared to open yourself up to read some of those subjects. And I'm like, yeah, but if we don't read about them, we stay in ignorance. If we're not willing to open ourselves up and our comfort zone up that little bit wider to be able to learn of another person's suffering or human suffering, then what does that say about us? If people can't be bothered to read one of my articles, which at most, I mean, I'm a fast reader. Some of my articles, if you're not an avid reader, they might take you 10-15 minutes. It's a cup of tea. And a lot of people do want to come and spend time with me. They want to just jump on a call with me. Read my articles. Because if I actually had a cup of tea with everybody, I used to have a cup of tea with Dawny B, and as a way of just connecting with people. And I found that people, all they wanted was a free coaching session. No, I'm not going to give away my intellectual property for free, other than the stuff that's already out on my YouTube, how to write a book, how to get published, and how to write about certain subjects. And this month we're doing, a book series on anthologies, which I'm recording later on. No, which I recorded yesterday, because today is Friday, folks. I keep forgetting that it's Friday. I lose days. I really do lose days. But looking at what we're reading and what we're listening to really does need to be taken a little bit more seriously, so that we understand the meaning of things. Now, here's a lady who knew exactly what she was writing, and this is Miley Cyrus with her song Flowers, and this became the theme tune of most women my age that have been divorced or are going through a breakup. So here we go. This is Miley Cyrus and Flowers. Oh, I remember the first time I sang that song. The first time I heard that song, I had to I had to find it on the Spotify, because I'd heard it on the radio, and I had to go and find it on Spotify, and I just played it over and over and over again until I learnt the lyrics, and then I sang it at the top of my voice. And I remember one day I was driving through Sheffield, near Nether Green, and there's a crossroads near one of my favourite restaurants, Rafters. Um, and a friend of mine, Marcus, used to be a chef there. But I'd got the windows down, the sun was shining, I got my shades on. It was like one of those days. I know you all know in which days. We haven't got them at the moment, have we? Well, not here in Britain, we haven't. But it was the summer months, and I was like, yes, singing along. And this one woman who was walking her dog, she started singing with me, and she was cheering and she was pumping her hands, and I was just like, and we were just waving. We knew. And that's the thing. When you see that phrase, women know. And even if they don't know, they still know. It's like your mum. She knows. She absolutely knows, and you don't even have to be in the same house as her. I remember when Nasser, my youngest, he could not settle at night. Don't know what was wrong with him at that point. He hadn't been home from hospital for very long after he was born, and he was just crying, crying, crying. And I was like, oh gosh, I don't know I'd burped him, winded him at the other end. He'd been fed, and I was like, I'm just going to go and get him. And my mum comes from the generation where you leave the babies to cry out. Now, if you know anything about that theory, that is not a healthy theory. Go and look at it. Go look into it. Go find out about the cry it out theory and why they did it. The detachment method is not healthy. They have to settle themselves. Yeah, go and read it. Now, I'm not one of these parents that likes to wrap up my boys up in cotton wool. They never have done. Never have done. When they used to fall over, I'd go, oh, great break fall. Now, next time you do it, if you do it this way, and I taught them to fall. Just like when I learned ice skating, one of the first things we were shown was how to fall over and get back up again. When I was training in MMA, mixed martial arts, we were taught, if you feel yourself falling or you're being thrown, then you prepare to fall, you prepare to land. And that's how I raised my boys. And I got that idea from a friend of mine, Stan, who's a fourth Dan in karate and a few other martial arts. And that's what he was doing with his son, Masai. Yeah, and that's the thing, the tips that we find from each other. And I don't know where I'm going with this, but women know, parents know, your mother always knows. And that's right, that's it. Because Nasa was crying, and I was about to go upstairs to him, and my mum phoned. I was like, how did she know? How did she know? So at the time I was like, oh, I really don't want to use a dummy. They're called dummies for a reason. It's all about silencing your child and not listening to the cries, so you understand what they're communicating to you through the cry. And the moment I was thinking, oh, should I get a dummy? My mum phoned again. Oh my God, that woman, I'm sure, I mean, I know she's a witch. We're all witches. Um, but goodness gracious, talk about sixth sense. Anyway, I digress. But Flowers, great song by Miley Cyrus, because we knew that me and this woman knew exactly what Miley was writing about in that song. We'd been there. We had been the women who had set the standard of marriages within our friendship groups, and then it all fell apart. We no longer had that dream that everybody else was planning. And what has been very interesting for me on my journey post divorce is the amount of my female friends that are choosing to stay in a marriage. Oh, sorry, there are a number of women in my circle. Some of them were very good friends, others not so much anymore. But they were choosing to stay in a marriage that was loveless, where he was cheating because they didn't want to face life on their own. They would rather stay in a loveless, sexless marriage than get divorced, because your insurance goes up, ladies. Who knew that was going to be a thing? You get uninvited to social gatherings. You are now the third wheel, or your friends. I would love my friends to invite me and set me up on a date. I really would. Invite a guy over that you think might actually like a bit of mental gymnastics, because that's how we used to do it. When we go back to Little Violet's silent movies, friends used to introduce their single friends to one another and see what magic would happen, if magic happened. But that no longer happens anymore. People don't want to get involved. And that's the same thing that we're talking about at the UN at the moment. And some of the books that we're reading, and the white papers that are coming out, and the articles that I'm writing and sending off to some of the national newspapers, people aren't asking the important questions. People aren't getting involved anymore. And we have to ask why. Why are they not getting involved? Is it because they are ostracized because they get involved? Is it because they and what something I stopped there because of something that just occurred to me. A few weeks ago, an elderly lady fell over where I live, in the community that I live in, and a few of us stopped to help this lady. Initially, a guy had stopped to help, but apparently when he had gone to move her to see if she was all right, she cried ow because she was in pain. But then I was like, because he then left it to this other girl that had arrived on the scene. And I thought that's really interesting, because it wasn't, oh, well, how could he leave her? It was like, I wonder what was going through his mind, what he was worried about. Because here he is trying to help a lady. She's now saying, ow. With a lot of the rhetoric that we read in the newspapers at the moment, people have become afraid of helping others. He could have been called on for assault. He could have been accused of all sorts. So it was better for him to back off and let a female deal with it than it would have been for a man to deal with it. That's really sad. People do want to help. They just don't know how to help because of all of the legislation that's out there to protect everybody. And this thing, we are living in a society where the leaders, so-called, in inverted commas, they've made it impossible in so many ways for us to help each other, and because the more divided we are, the easier to control we are. And the more divided we are, the less we work together. And this is why I don't think that cultural diversity is a good thing. That's why I think that, yes, acknowledge the differences between us, but also look at the similarities between us. You know, cultural cohesion. You know, we all talk about fusion cuisine. Well, you know, music. We're love music with, you know, Ed Sheeran's been using a lot of Indian riffs in his music recently. You know, and when you've got like old school music that's been like I played swing earlier, and it made it a bit more EDM, electronic dance music. You know, that's all about samples and bringing in different genres of music. And if we can do that with music and we can do that with our food, why can't we do that with our relationships and our communities? Why do we have all this division? Because it's easier for them to win votes. It's easier for us to be living separately and to be controlled. But these laws that we're challenging and we're becoming more aware of this week at the UN sessions I've found it really fascinating. And I know that I'm at the end of my show today, and I know I've got a lot more to learn. But this last song that I'm going to play for you before we get to the end of is a song that when I play it, I do sing this at the top of my voice. This is my song. It's been my song ever since it first came out. I've had so many people dedicate this song to me. And this is by Sandy Thom. I Wish I Was a Punk Rocker with Flowers in My Hair. Now, the cameras won't be seeing me dance to this week, or hear, and you won't hear me sing it out loud unless you're with me while I'm on a dog walk. So yes, as we come to the end of this session, I just want to say thank you all so much for listening and tuning in, for your messages, and I look forward to joining you again next week. Ciao for now.
You've been listening to the Literary Lounge with Dawn Bates on Radio Cardiff at 98.7 FM and DAB Radio. Thank you for tuning in, and we'll be with you again next week.